Ladies, gentlemen, we love you. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
They call me Mr. P from the 313, coming live from the PRC government name, Robert Edward Patterson, the second.
And I am Agent Black, Agent Black Stock, Agent Darrell Black Stock. And this is the Pass the Bag podcast.
Ladies, gentlemen, listeners, it's not enough for you to get the bag.
You got to know how to keep that bag.
If you want to care for a bag, then you got to know how to share the bag.
Now, kindly pass the bag.
We are not pulling this out of thin air. We don't say it just because it sounds good here at Pass the Bag Podcast. We care about community. We care about health and your finances and financial literacy. Comprehensive financial literacy is important. So one of the things that we know that some people out there might not want for you to know is seriously, you want to get money, you want to come into money, you got to know how to keep money. And one of the best ways to know how to keep money is for you to share money. So when we talk about getting this knowledge, getting things that are of value, we want to take these things that are of value and we want to share them with one another. And we want to share them with you the same way that we share them with one another. How you doing today, sir?
Man,
What's the good
no
word?
complaints. Here in Spain, doing the thing. And yeah, we got to, so we didn't do the check-in because this is the first episode because we didn't release the last episode. So it's a mystery episode out there, everybody.
Mystery episode. What do we call that? Patreon content? That's for the Patreons?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But we talked about a lot of great stuff, but you haven't heard from us in a while. I'm in Spain doing a thing. And the rain sustains in Spain. I don't know. Something like that.
For those listeners who were with us during the last two episodes of season 2, we want to thank you. But for those listeners who are new to the podcast, you can check those last 2 episodes of season 2 out, where we talk about when Adrian was still here, and he and I were doing the podcast right next to each other. Now we are using the magic of technology,
right,
to bring you all the good word.
Things change, but it's all the same. It's all love. It's all game. And let's get into these bags, man. That's what the people are here for. They're here for the bags.
So what's really goody with the bags?
When you get off the plane, when I got on the plane and I'm headed to Hong Kong and then I'm headed to Spain, before you get off that plane, you got to claim your bag and you got to check out the baggage claim. You got to go to the baggage claim and say, hey, this bag is mine. It is mine. I am preferential to this bag. This is the bag that I want. This is the bag that I need. This is the bag that I love. This is my bag. These are the type of bags I like. It got all the stuff I need inside of it. It is a perfect bag for me. Baggage claim. All right. So let's get into the first bag. And the first bag is that little soliloquy was a metaphor for maybe sometimes in dating, sometimes when you're choosing a partner, choosing a lover, choosing somebody you want to spend your time with, you have certain preferences. You have certain things that you look for, certain things that are appealing to you, certain number of pockets that you need your bag to have. So, Mr. P, what has been your experience with preferential dating, dating with preferences, dating about race, and just dating in general? And how do you want to deconstruct the term race when it comes to dating?
Well, I feel like number one, I really love that thing that you did with the baggage claim with the airport. I want to give a shout out to all of our airport workers, all those people who have stayed on that long ride, that long, hard ride since certain security administrations have come into existence and changed the world. Check this out. Let's unpack the bag, sir. I feel like we have different audiences. Our audiences here in China, international audience before, and then we have our audience in the States, which we're also thankful for. And if it's one thing that we know that, in the States, that is a racial regime, and people are just obsessed with race. No matter how much they are or are not confronting it, most of them are not. I don't think, it's been my observation, not thinking so critically about it, because maybe that's too much work. But when we talk about unpacking the bag and preferences and dating, I thought it was real important for us to address, especially the racial element. But before we get into that part, the macro part, the societal part, me personally, it was once upon a time where I might have had preferences that have changed. But I think that's the difference between approaching socializing with my head versus socializing with my heart. The heart, I don't have any control over that. And I know that there are a lot of people who haven't gotten into that, but let's get into it right now. When we unpack that bag, the heart chooses what the heart chooses. The heart wants what the heart wants. Now, afterward, it's up to us to do with what we will when the brain says, now, are we going to go for this thing that the heart wants and, that the heart doesn't want? So, yeah, I might have had preferences that were mental preferences, but the truth is that, the preferences that come from my heart are generally just, give me somebody who's kind. Give me someone who is a great listener, who appreciates a great listener, who appreciates healthy communication culture. Overall, just somebody who enjoys me for who I am, who isn't attempting to. Someone who respects me, someone who I respect. That's that surface thing. But outside of my personal preferences, because I'm straight and you're straight, really, I do want to get into that whole situation with people specifically from the States and even in international audiences, but definitely places where the regimes are racial: South Africa, United Kingdom, the US, like people's obsession, the way that all of these articles and things on dating apps, all of these videos, all of these conversations that get had, that to me personally, those conversations don't make any sense because, they make about as much sense as race makes. That's what I'm gonna say.
Right. Well, I mean, all right. So
Talk on it, speak on it. Let's go.
thank
Say it in the
you.
most offensive way possible.
Thank you for your perspective. And now I'm definitely I find myself in a similar place. I wasn't always at that place though, and I would say I remember one of my first experiences with race in dating. I was like maybe in the third, fourth, or fifth grade. And there was this young lady. Her name was Amanda Chapman. Shout out to you, Amanda. And she's gorgeous lady, and she had just really friendly, really bubbly personality. But she was not a member of the Afro-European diasporatic individual. She was not an 80s. She was not a so-called black person. She was a so-called white person. And I remember one of my friends asked me on the bus. He was like, "Hey, Amanda wants to be your girlfriend. What do you say?" And I said, "No, I can't date her because she's white."
Not part of the diaspora.
She was white.
She's
And
not
I
a
remember
diasporic person.
right. Now, like looking back, it was crazy because I had such a hard time finding a girlfriend when I was a kid. Like it wasn't like girls was just like knocking down my door trying to be Mrs. Black, at the time. It wasn't like that at all. Nobody was trying to be Mrs. Black. I wasn't getting no love.
This is third grade, right?
Third, fourth, fifth grade, some elementary school for sure, like primary school.
I appreciate your vulnerability, bro. I appreciate your vulnerability.
Of course.
Let's do this.
This is my first experience with it. And so I remember saying, and I remember immediately regretting it when I said it. Like, that was stupid. Why did you even say that? Well, what? I mean, I stuck by my decision. But looking back, immediately after making the decision, even as an adolescent, I understood that was stupid. Like, it didn't make sense to me, even at the time. I just said it because maybe that was a way that I was programmed, and I didn't know.
Okay.
And then I go on to like support that idea with beliefs as I got older. Even as I got older, I didn't change and become more accepting. I became less accepting since from that date, going
Oh, wow.
to till I went to China, man. Until I was maybe 25, I would say I had a perspective that I wouldn't date any woman that wasn't a black woman, and yet alone like step outside and date somebody who's like, you know, not Christian. And it was the same thing. Like even if this person was not Christian, if they were a Buddhist, for example, they could have been a black Buddhist. And I probably wouldn't have dated them for the same reason. So I don't think it was just a race thing. It was a preferential thing. I wanted someone black, wanted someone Christian, wanted someone who wanted to have children. Um, I mean, but like even as I got older, when when I was like 22, 23, you know, it's like, all right, I want somebody that eventually one day will have kids. Um, and then like even it all of that changed when I went to China. And then when I went to China, it was like, all right, so if I'm a date, you know, I'm gonna have to date somebody that doesn't necessarily look like me. But and then I realized like culture has nothing to do with race, right? So what I was looking for was someone who was culturally similar to me. And I think having cultural preferences are okay. Like someone who listens to the same type of music that you do, someone who likes the similar type of food that you like. Or he's at least open to it. They don't have to love it. They don't have to be a fan, but it's like, all right, I love Indian food. Will you at least eat Indian food with me every now and then? You know, or I love hip hop music. Will you go to a hip hop party with me every now and then? Like culturally preferential. I feel like it's a better place to be than racially preferential, because what is race at the end of it? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah. I mean, check this out. Thank you for sharing that. So for me, there's so many things that come to mind. Like, okay, so for me, the first the first encounters with this that I had didn't have anything to do with stuff that I was going through. I had a brother 7 years my senior, and I can remember at one point my mother saying something that was meant to be. It was something about the gal's appearance. You know, she talked about the color of this gal's hair and the color of her eyes with disdain. You know, and so that's my first exposure to okay, I think this is one of those racial things, right? Specifically with dating. But for me, it as far as how it influenced my choices, maybe was less of a problem. I think if it was a problem that I was having, is that my appeal to other so-called races was so broad that by the time that I was in this adolescent space in high school or something, like I can remember having a memory of being with a bunch of other adolescents, my then friends and or peers, or at least people whose respect I was fighting for. And I can remember being at a football game, and one of the cheerleaders and I were talking, and one of the guys said something to the other guys along the lines of that, how come all of the white chicks love this guy or something like that. And I remember that pushed my button in a way where I didn't like what it was that he was saying, because I felt like uh, you know like it was boxing me in or something like that. But you know, I want to say this is one of those moments where I wish that we had a larger listening base. I'm gonna get meta, because to me, I look at certain things now, and I look back at certain things then, and I will go like, okay, so how much sense does this make? People walk into a room, and doesn't matter if this guy over here is a piece of garbage, right? What matters is that he's another so-called black person. I'm gonna say hello to him. I'm gonna acknowledge his presence, but I'm not gonna acknowledge everybody else's presence. Or you go into a space where you might be sitting next to this person over here who is not in the same racial category as you are, but they have integrity, they have solid character, have a backbone, but you will shun their attention and their company to go over here with this person who who roll over at the drop of a dime on you. And those sorts of ideas for me came quickly into the whole mating thing, where it was just like, I guess, part of my environment. I grew up in, I went to private schools when I was like a very young kid. So boom, from the jump, I'm seeing kids from all over, from all different backgrounds.
Right.
I'm going home. There's kids who are not like the kids in private school. I'm going to, just in my environment was always, different types of people. So, yeah, I guess. But I think when we talk about unpacking a thing about those preferences, I just always feel like that's really interesting how people ignore the ways that it doesn't add up. They ignore the ways that the racial nuances, in my opinion, and in my experience, they ignore the ways that it doesn't add up. Or when you challenge it, like you can do it, anybody can do it, any of our listeners can do it. When you go to start to challenge some of those nuances, and they fall apart, they start to fall apart really quickly. People start backpedaling, that sort of thing. So it always just seemed stupid to me, man. And even when somebody would come at me, when I knew that the gal was coming at me because, I was the black guy or whatever, that was always lame to me, man. I was shooting that down. And even to this day, when I'm, we talk about, so-called black chicks, horrible statistics in the States around, with the dating apps, you can look up those surveys about, who doesn't choose these people and who don't choose those people because of societal values and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, like, you don't get to choose. Like, none of these people get to choose. If you're in a room, you're in a room where you say you don't like fat people, it's 100 fat folks in the room. You be in that room long enough, you're gonna find somebody you're attracted to. You be in a room with,
I don't
100
know about
people from Japan, and come on, fam. Let's talk.
I'm not saying nothing would have having to do with fat people, whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just me giving an example to say, like, the heart choose. The heart.
You put the Grand Duke of the KKK in a room with 100 black people, he gonna be attracted to somebody? I don't know. I can't see it that way. Like if you put,
he is eventually, but it's about what will he do when he feels that attraction. So we got a choice around what we're gonna do when the attraction surfaces, or to acknowledge the feeling of attraction, right? So not everybody is self-aware enough.
Bro, you telling me you gonna be attracted to somebody if you in a room with 100 magas, like 100 MAGA hat wearing, like, like not supportive of you, or people that look like you or your culture or anything, that not even trying to listen to you, calling you all type of N-words.
I'm gonna tell you why I appreciate the question that you're asking right now, because especially with the way I identify politically, there's some stuff that Trump did that am I gonna say everything negative about Trump? No. Am I gonna say everything positive about Obama? No. Right. So when you ask me if I'm in a group and 100 people got MAGA hats on, yeah, absolutely, because I'm that person who, when people talk, even whether we're agreeing, whether we're disagreeing, my sense of security these days is different than it used to be. So, if somebody is, as long as someone isn't, reaching out to actively harm me, physically or in some way that I can't afford, like, it's cool. I know how to listen to somebody, because in the end, those conversations, me being able to listen to them, I'm gonna learn something new, and it's my responsibility.
I'm with you on that. Not fighting
for myself with it. So absolutely.
I'm not
100 Magas, it's going to be at least 10 or 15 of them in there that, okay, maybe I can smash it. 100 Obama supporters, it's going to be the same number probably, because I'm going to be equally as critical of this liberal elitism and all the rest of that BS as I am about this.
It's not like we're talking about, we're playing jazz right now, which is why I keep jumping in.
Yeah, let's play that jazz. I love it.
It's not like we're talking about, like, have a conversation. We're talking about attraction. Like, I feel like, like, attractive, but for me, it'd be attractive enough to date and or be romantic with somebody. It's totally different than, like, my level enough to have a conversation with them. Yeah, I can be in a MAGA room. I can be maybe in a, like, a military camp for, like, child soldiers, and I can listen.
I'm with you. And I can
understand.
I'm with you. And part of what you're
I
saying
would
right now, I feel
understand
like
for sure, but like anything more than that, attraction, that's next
no,
level.
I'm riding with you. I'm vibing with you, and I feel like part of what it is that you're saying is poking another hole in, most people's racial preferences or whatever. Because in the end, you ask me that type of thing where you say attraction. Well, listen, charisma is like being 7 foot tall. It's like having brown eyes. It's
Mm.
like insert any of the rest of that. You're either born with that or you're not. And a room full of, you give me 100 full of, I enjoy women, that's what I'm into. So you got 100 full of gal, a room full of 100 gals, and they're all MAGA supporters or whatever. It's gonna be something that they was born with. That as long as they didn't destroy that thing over time. I'm not gonna say that being a MAGA supporter is gonna absolutely just destroy all of a person's virtues. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. You can develop your charisma and have who's
I'm
that
really
are in opposition to mine, or even to make it a step further, because we know that politics in the states, when you talk about race, and this is the deconstructionist part, and I hope that all the audience rolls with me and tunes in and can say what they want to say. But bro, none of that, that all of that stuff is code. It's all code language when you talk about racial stratas, man. But, so-called white person is just a person who has a government mandate, and that government mandate means that the government gives them a certain type of authority that the rest of these people either don't have or they have to a lesser degree in the strata, right? So that agency, as a so-called white person, might, in some
so
ways, depending on how they flex it, that might go directly against me. But everybody who I run into with that mandate doesn't actively use that mandate, right?
I
So
get that. I'm with you. Like I'm not disagreeing with any of that, and I think our listeners would probably agree with a lot of that too. I'm just curious about the initial question, which
yeah.
is it okay? And listeners, please comment below. Please like and subscribe. Number one, but please comment below and let us know what you think. Is it okay
It's not okay. It's not. I don't think it's okay.
to be preferential racially?
I think the idea of racial preference, man. I think that's some social programming BS, bro. I don't think it really exists, man. That's just me
Is
personally.
it? But it's okay to have a sexual preference, or is that not
Sexual
okay?
preference, like what? Like I prefer to have sexual
Yeah,
preference.
of course. I mean, of course, you prefer to have sex. I know you, but nah, I mean, like, who you prefer to have sex with?
See, I think that the thing about that part about your sexual preference, your biological preference, like you smell a woman, or I smell a woman, or you smell whatever turns you on. Like if I smell that and my mouth waters, like I don't decide what makes my mouth water. Right? So we're not gonna tell, and this is one of the problems that we have that I have with certain communities. I hear certain fathers talk. Man, come on, bro. Like if your son was born that way, hardwired, where the smell of Joe and Carl in the locker room excites him, then let your son be who your son is, right? If the smell of Rebecca and Susan turns on your son, let your son live both ways. But I
Right.
think that that's a lot different than saying, oh, this person belongs to this group of people, and all people who belong to this group of people, um, you know,
Unworthy dating.
I, yeah, they're unworthy of my attention or my affection. And then there always is a subtext that comes after that, which is to say, name all, if we can name these races and so-called groups of people, you and I could both start listing off this just a list of things that are supposed to make those people in those groups unattractive that don't make sense.
Right. Right.
So,
It don't make
there you go. That's a good game. What's something about so-called white folks that makes them unworthy for other people to date? Go for it. Just the
what?
dumbest, the dumbest stuff you heard growing up. That's supposed to be a reason for you to avoid somebody. Also
Uh,
called black people are thieves.
I
Also called
let
white folks when they get wet, they smell like wet dogs. Also
right.
called Chinese people, blah blah blah. None of
That's
that shit.
like we all know what those are.
Mhm.
For me though, I feel like now that another little piece of it is I felt like I wouldn't date a white person just because to protect myself. you know, like in the sense that protect myself from them because white people, okay, here's
Sure.
one, white people are racist and scary and they will kill you and get away with it. They could kill you and get away with it. There's some truth in that in my world, but
It's about the mandate, not about the person, right?
it's
The
about the man
mandate gives. Yeah.
of the government. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the person. Like the individuals and individuals just like me at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
That's
But
right.
hey, when we go to the court system, because I
That's
live in
right.
the government has a certain mandate for me that they don't have for other people, which is we understand the system. We know how it works here to pass the bag. And that's why it's all about getting the bag and sharing the bag. Because once you figure out how it works, then you can navigate your way through. And that's where we are now. And that's why we brought this topic to you, God, to you all, because we're in a world that supposedly is a post-racial society, but there's this it's the underlying stuff.
Let's
Underlying,
go.
right? It's the underlying stuff. I mean, they've been saying that since the 90s. I don't know why, but I mean it sounds nice. But let us know what you think. Comment below, passthebagpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Hit us up on IG, Pass the Bag. I think it's Pass the Bag Podcast on IG too. But it's season 3. Let's get into this next bag and let us know what you think. Is it okay to be preferential?
Season 3, PTB.
Right.
Yeah. To what degree is it okay for you to have racial preferences in dating? If you ask me, I feel like that's one of the ones where you might need an exorcist or medicine man or something. Snap back to you.